This last week has been super eventful around the homestead. Here's a good reason to carve demi-lunes down the side of your driveway in the high desert of Arizona if you're looking to harvest rainwater. These are old demi-lunes I dug out a year ago, and you can see they hold a lot of water really well. But also there's a little bit of water being held on the driveway for just a space, because the point is to crown it so the water sheds off the sides and you can use it in the demi-lunes. So what I'll do is go back in there, dig them out more, crown the driveway, just like I did on this side. So I just freshly dug this one and that one out, and threw most of the dirt in the center, and then the rest have flowed out any ruts. And that'll just be an improvement on the system that goes all the way down to the pond behind the cabin there. You see, the other day I harvested thousands and thousands of gallons of water. But as you can see, that water stopped there, and this water stopped here, which means, you know, during grading, the swells had been kind of backfilled. And so I just need to connect this to that side so that later tonight when it rains, the water from the front gate can run all the way to the pond without anything holding it up. When I first moved out here, there were a lot of mice, and having farm cats is super necessary, a really important part of having the homestead. And so I have two cats, a male and a female. This is the female, the mama. She has 3 kittens now, and they spend most of their time outside, and I've built them a comfortable place under the cabin, but she's no problem at all. And I'm just letting her in, and she's kind of checking out the cabin and getting used to it. And I'll probably let her and the kittens in more often. And I don't know about the male, though. I think he sprays a lot, so maybe after he gets neutered, if that happens. I was just looking through my camera roll, and there's just all kinds of stuff to talk about and show you. Oh, you all right, buddy? I guess the most obvious thing has been the several heavy monsoons that I've gotten, and there's just been all kinds of questions. Look, my dry farming field is really taking off. There's a bunch of squash out here coming up, as well as thousands of seeds, you know, just different grass. Oh, look, Stape stepped right on it. Here's a good one. And I've got 10 pounds of clover seed coming, so I'll throw that down too. So the most common questions I've been getting are, what about the silt? Well, silt's not a real big deal. The ponds and stuff are mostly for watering stuff. You can easily filter this water for drinking. There's like bags, an example. You can just scoop up a 3-gallon bag, put in a little chemical that basically solidifies those things and connects them and clumps them all together, and the water comes out perfectly clean. So if you, in an emergency, needed drinking water, it's easy. And 3 gallons is a lot of drinking water for yourself. Most of this system is pretty new or redug, and so the water absolutely, the silt flushes out. You know, the area kind of gets used to the water what rushing through, clay builds up over the top, and they don't produce nearly as much silt after they're flushed out. And not to mention, most of the silt just settles, and it's just not a real big deal. It hasn't been for me. Some people mentioned putting in check dams along the way, which is a great idea. I've always wanted to do that, but I think a lot of people don't know. I came out here 5 years ago with next to nothing, and I didn't have a lot of money, and I've felt that I just haven't had the money to go buy a huge load of rock. There's no rock just sitting around here. I'd have to get about probably a $1,300 load of cobble, have them deliver just a huge load of it to really make sense. You know, I could make check dams all the way down the way, and if there's a bunch left, I could frame in the bottom of the cabin, and oh, I want to circle the entire pond, and there's so many things I'd love to have that rock for, and it just hasn't been in the budget yet. But you're right, that'd be a wonderful idea to just do several check dams along the way. The silt will get caught in that, and then the water will continue to run down, and that's a great idea. Look how deep this swell is now that I dug it out again. The other main question I've been getting over and over is, well, what about mosquitoes? You know, so you can, if you got some ponds or some livestock tanks, basically, what about mosquitoes? And in all my time out here, I've seriously seen like 10 mosquitoes. I did have mosquito larvae laid in my aquaponic system. I caught it in time and just scooped it out. You could just see them. I scooped it out with a filter and then put a pump up there. I've never had mosquitoes in there since. That water moves really fast. I saw mosquito larvae laid in the pond once. And, you know, right now, an example, that water is just sitting there. And eventually mosquito larvae probably would be laid in there. But you see that the surface at least is clean, and it's actually moving a little bit enough, you know, but when I saw mosquito larvae in there, I just turned on the 4,500 gallon an hour pump and it destroyed that surface. You know, it was starting to collect sediment and stuff, and it just mixed everything and killed all that larvae immediately. And while you could do that out in the livestock ponds, the other huge benefit is, whether it's because I've started to build enough of a thriving oasis in the geothermal, or maybe it's just the way it is, but I have thousands of frogs. In fact, I know that I didn't have those the first couple years, so I have thousands of frogs. Almost every day I see one in the geothermal here. And remember, there's a salamander in here too. And anyway, you know, frogs like to eat mosquitoes, and so if you have thousands of frogs, they're gonna find their way around those ponds eventually. And it's a long game, but I'll have plants that are coming up near those ponds and different things, and that'll encourage more frogs. And just about, as you look around here, just about every little hole, if you see like a little hole in the wall, that's a frog's home. Well, they wipe out mosquitoes, and I also get thousands of dragonflies, especially if there are any larvae being laid. Look guys, now's a perfect time. You see this guy? That's got an Audiio. You get some of the pollen on there and you put it on the innie, which is really just these ones that have like 5 of those little guys. You know that's a female, so you can pollinate it. Oh, I broke that flower, dang it. And then you see there's another one here. Oh, there's another one there too. So while this plant would obviously grow fruit, see, this is a bad one. Oh, dang it, I busted that too. We'll bust this off because it's going to be bad. And we don't want to waste the energy in it. And it can just break down as compost. But you see all the fruit coming in, right? Boom, boom. See all these guys? Oh, there's a bad one. Get rid of that. you know. But look at, there's lots and lots of good ones. See these right next to each other and all the way down the way, real close. By pollinating them, you get a lot more fruit for sure. This will be a pretty massive yield of different squash and zucchini and melons, and that'll go into the root cellar and last all the way through till summer. So it's going to drop down to 32 degrees in a couple nights, so I've got to hurry and close that end in. And really, I should hurry and get this fan running. This is a geothermal, so it'll regulate the temperature in here. To recap, really, that pond is a reservoir basically for the horses. It's freshly dug just a couple months ago. Once it filled the other day, they've been packing it down. It's holding water pretty good, but I notice it is slowly draining. And so I threw in a wheelbarrow full of manure. So there's this technique where you can, horses will fill a pond. Pigs will fill a pond if you fence it and let them poop in there and eat in there, and the hay and the poop, and they tamp it down, and it's called glazing. So it'll seal the pond like in nature does eventually. So by throwing the manure, a wheelbarrow of manure in there and then a wheelbarrow of hay, I'm speeding up the process, and I'm feeding the horses over there because I can tell they're really tamping it down, and they're going in and playing in the pond, and I think they're going to seal it up a lot quicker that way. So that's something that I'm working on. I finished cutting out those swells from the front gate all the way to the pond and cleaned up the driveway there. So those demi-lunes and swells needed cut out because they weren't, I had the road graded a while back and it kind of closed those off, so I needed to dig them back out. And that part of the driveway needed crowned again. It was a little floody, so I crowned the area that needed it, and that'll improve the driveway. A lot of people were concerned when they saw this end of the driveway flooded, but in that same video I explained that the only reason that was flooded is because I need to dig a pond right there, and then that'll hold so much water, and then I can continue I've got a swell down the back here, so I can continue that as an emergency because it has an overflow, and then this will never flood again. And for those that were concerned, as soon as it stopped raining, within 30 minutes the driveway was drivable because it is crowned. It does drain very quickly. But permaculture, these things, building a homestead by yourself, it's a real long game, and it just can't all be done overnight. And the day that you cut in your entire rain harvesting swell system, you might not have a silt filter in place or check dams, and it might take a year or two to get to that point. It's just a long game developing your land. There's no way I could have planted, that's alfalfa, and those are all real goji berries in the back. I planted those maybe 2 years ago now, and I couldn't have done that the first year. And it don't look like much, but eventually it grows into being much. Anyhow, I need to close off the greenhouses. It'll be 32 degrees soon, and I need to start closing in the livestock shelters. I want to improve them before it gets very cold. And in addition to that, the truck is just waiting on the air cleaner, which is the box the air filter goes in, and spark plugs. And so today I'm gonna connect the starter, connect the alternator, run a couple new hoses, flush the radiator, and put in fluid, and probably, I'm thinking I'll even just add oil and let it sit for a day or two. And then when I get those last parts, fire it up, dude. It's gonna be cool. I'll have to go out to a main road and just bang it out a few laps and break it in. I have non-toxic finger paint for the dogs, and I'll even try a horse if somebody wants, but I'm doing 9 total because I only ordered 9 frames. But if you want a paw print or whatever, there's still 5 left, and it's my everything kit. I'll tag it down below. It comes with all of my products. So you see that? Everything from the exhaust up is pretty well finished and ready to go for this guy. Motul break-in oil. So I just filled the radiator up. This oil is kind of cool. It's blue. I don't know if you can see it from there. I don't want to fill this all the way because it's a sharp angle. Just hand tight there. Okay. And a little bit of oil in here. Let's see what happens, huh? These are torqued. Yeah. Let's take a peek. I'm thinking it'd just be a good idea to pour this in. I've got the air cleaner and spark plugs on the way. I just need to connect the starter and fire it up after I install those.